And welcome back to Lantern Corps video. Today's Lantern Corps video comes to us from Candlestick Cinema and from, was it White Knight? What Night? What was the question? What is the Lantern Corps? Oh, Kenny McCormick from South Park. And unfortunately, this is one of those scenarios where I couldn't even do two, let alone three alternate suggestions. Because Kenny is literally, there's really no defining emotional trait about Kenny. And when we're looking at the light spectrum, there's only really one trait that works, and it's the sadly obvious one. So what I'm ultimately going to do is just go down the list until we get to the one he actually qualified for and explain why it doesn't really work, or why it might have worked at certain intervals, but doesn't quite work overall. So let's just get through this. So, and I'll go, back and forth here. So the Gold Lanterns of Happiness. He's never been happy his entire life. Moving on. Green did not work because Green, you have to overcome great fear, and you have to have great willpower. And Kenny does sometimes have great willpower. Obviously, he died, went to heaven, became their Keanu in their war against Hell for a while. He was Mysterion, and he was actually pretty capable as Mysterion. But we also, as Kenny, see him get scared shitless over a lot of stuff normally. And just kind of give up. For instance, the Promise Ring episode, where obviously he was kind of brainwashed by the Promise Ring. He just gave up. No willpower required. All for the hope of some boobs and maybe a BJ. So yeah, Will doesn't work. I also think fear doesn't work, because the only time we've seen him be someone that inspires fear is as Mysterion. And even then, he doesn't really scare that many people. And he briefly worried Hell, because he's like, why should we involve? They have a Keanu. Like, there you go. So fear doesn't work. Shame's a weird one. Of all the kids in the group, Cartman, Kyle, Kenny, and Stan, Kenny is weirdly the one that really doesn't show a lot of shame for his actions or shame for her lifestyle or choices he's made, which is interesting in my opinion. Despite the fact he's the poor kid, despite that he's the poor one out of the group, the one who struggles a lot and dies a lot, he never really seems to be down that much. He seems to actually just be pretty okay with things. He's not perpetually happy his whole life, but he doesn't seem to have any shame. So I couldn't say the ultraviolence. I also would not go and say he's a Lantern of Rage. He's gotten angry once or twice, particularly again as Mysterion, but as an overall character, as Kenny McCormick, he's not really a character that embodies rage at all. Nor is he a character that embodies love. I wouldn't even go so far as to say he embodies lust. He's just, a kid who happens to be attracted to naked women and, girls in general. In fact, he is probably the horniest of the group. We've seen this a couple times. But lust and love can go together, but that doesn't mean he really qualifies for that. Nor would I say he qualifies for a Lantern Ring of Compassion either. And this just comes down to the fact that, honestly, Cartman is qualifies more than Kenny does. That's because Kenny has levels of compassion. It's just not a defining trait, nor does he lack it. So Cartman, because he's just so self-absorbed and does not care most of the time, would probably be a better qualifier for a Ring of Compassion than Kenny would. As always, I should also point out he's died so many times and probably doesn't really care that much about. Let me run it this way. I don't see White as a core friend because he's died a lot of times. Not that I would detract you technically, but he's not doing anything in his day-to-day routines to really try to help keep, bolster life, to protect life and all that. So he's not really doing much in that front. Likewise, he's not really greedy enough to be an Lantern of Avarice. They're all greedy, but on some level, but they're all kids. Cartman, I think I did Cartman. So Cartman would probably be the most likely candidate to be an Avarice Lantern, definitely. Finally, I don't see him as a Hope Lantern simply on the grounds that you need to be able to inspire and instill hope, as well as keep your faith. And there's not much in Kenny's life that really, at least from the episode, have not seen every episode of South Park, by the way. I've seen a lot of them, but not all of them. There's not a lot that really lends itself, at least with Kenny, towards hope. Kenny just goes about his day and goes la-di-da-di-da, which leaves the only plausible answer is the Lantern Corps death, given how many times he's died. And it was literally a point he was dying and coming back every episode, and no one was able to no one was aware of it for the longest time. And then obviously we get the Cthulhu episode, which reveals how he's able to do that. Because they went to a Cthulhu cult meeting. He ultimately became, I don't know exactly what it was. Was he cursed or became what would I say? What do you call it? A avatar or vessel for the Elder Ones? Who knows? But that's why Kenny's able to come back from the dead every time he dies. Anyway, though, it's obvious he'd be a Lantern of Death just because of how many times he's died. Literally, he's in the double digits. I don't even know. They've been on for 20 some odd years, I believe. Why not just Google that question? How many times has Kenny died? How many times has when did you know? I just typed in how many times has, and Kenny died was the first one that came up. How many times? Why did Kenny die? So how many times has Kenny died per season? How many times did South Park kill Kenny? He's died over 100 times. Like straight out 100. He's gone into triple digits of death. So yeah, Black Lantern works the best. But that's just my opinion. If you did not do Black Lantern for Kenny, what Lantern Corps would you do? If I had my feet held to the fire, I would probably lean towards Will, and I'm only doing that based on his run as Mysterion. That's the only reason I'm doing that. Because otherwise, I don't really see him being a Yellow Lantern, not a Rage Lantern, really none of the other Lanterns, honestly. This is just my opinion, though. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.